Hello, and welcome back to the Fae Banner Review, where we talk about shadow dropping a trailer for a banner several days early. I wonder which banner that could be referring to. Today, we have a brand new New Year's banner featuring the Book 9 OCs and an Arcanea character who feels so out of place. We will talk about this later into the video because there sure is a reason for that. And as per tradition, I will be using this coveted line graph that may or may not be a line graph at the end of the day to rank the brand new New Year's banner, as well as the circle graph that may or may not be a circle at the end of the day alongside it. Today's rankings will be based on how many people will be spending orbs on the banner, and if you want them to shadow drop yet another banner at such a random time, then make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you, I'd really appreciate it. First up, we have Heimdallr, and she's an OC from Book 9. Yep, that's why she's here. It's the yearly tradition of taking the units we already got a few months ago and copying them over here. Also, because this is mostly just Heimdallr and I didn't think we'd be getting the New Year's banner shadow dropped on us, I'm just going to see what the differences are between their kits instead of reading out what's probably 99% copied over from base Heimdallr. Let's see. Yeah, I see. I can't read. Okay, so assuming I didn't completely mess this up, the differences seem to be them replacing the lull attack defense and res effect for a scowl on the foe centered on her with less than 40 res if they could trigger a special effect. That's a mouthful. The condition for her stats, true damage and true damage reduction, giving her stats instead of debuffing the foe's attack and res, more true damage, and up to 2 special jumps before her first attack instead of restoring 7 HP after combat. And with the B slot, it looks like nothing has changed. Z strikes again. What would you guys do without me? You can now bless Heimdallr, which means you could use her in any mode you want now. Like Aetherite's defense. You could have a source of Foresight Snare for Aetherite's offense tanking, which is pretty strong. Maybe it could shut down stuff like Baby Camilla so you don't immediately explode. Or maybe another unit takes a hit instead and then she swings. Who knows? The big benefit is now you could use Heimdallr twice in stuff like Summoner Duels with the likes of Alphador and Chrom, as well as 6 range units on their own teams, which is going to be really annoying. Why did I call that a benefit? I really don't like Foresight Snare at all, although I'm probably in the minority with that, because clearly this was something I'm sure everyone was asking for. Dear IS, all I want for the holidays is another reason not to play this game. Well, they sure delivered on that. At least the scout support is pretty good. Lull is already easy to pass around, so giving her something less common makes her a lot more useful. Barring the stuff that actually makes her useful and annoying to fight. Did I mention how I don't like Foresight Snare? Heimdallr also comes with a bunch of inheritable skills, including Ice Wall, Attack Res Aria, and something actually new, an Attack Res Liberate, which grants Attack Liberate and Res Liberate to herself and allies closest to the foe at the start of the player phase or enemy phase. It grants 4 Attack and Res during combat, and for any unit and ally on the map with Attack Liberate and Res Liberate active, they get upwards of 10 additional true damage during combat based on how many bonus effects they have. And the new Liberate bonuses give a bonus to their respective stats based on the number of bonus effects they have active, up to a total of 8. I really like this C slot. It's like Shackle, except not remotely like Shackle. Additional stats based on your own bonuses and giving map-wide 10 true damage is really strong. I don't know if I really care about the closest to foe condition over a within 2 spaces condition we usually get, but considering it's Heimdallr, it makes enough sense. It's also a trade-off because it means in some ways it's even more flexible of a skill to run if you don't have everyone grouped up together. I want to see more of these skills down the line though, because I think they're really good. And that's about all the happy things I could say about this unit. And other than that, that sure is Heimdallr. It's Heimdallr, but new. Years. It's the same unit basically with barely any changes. So if you liked or hated Heimdallr before this point, well, I got some news for you, bud.
There's 2 of them!
Next, there's Vali, and she's also an OC from Book 9. Yep, that's also why she's here. It's the yearly tradition of taking the units we got a few months ago and copying them over here. And apparently the tradition of me copying my unit segments over too. Same thing with Heimdallr, there's probably not that many changes, so I'm just gonna see what the differences are between their kits. Let's see. I see. I wish I couldn't right about now. Okay, ignoring how long these weapons are for a second. That's better. Anyway, the differences seem to be that the New Year's weapon gets built-in far trace and that's it. Well, they did also remove her weapon condition so that it just works all the time too. Gave her 1 more spectrum of stats. I think more true damage and true damage reduction since it's a flat amount now rather than a percentage of a stat. I can't really tell. And they traded out her damage reduction piercing effect for full no follow-up. Okay, so more than the addition of far trace at least. The special is also the exact same, so yeah. You can now bless Vali, which means you can use her in any mode you want now, like Aetherite's offense. and defense. I think her being blessable will make her more appealing to people because the added distant counter effect isn't as appealing for an Aether Raid's defense setting. It means you're more prone to reflex stuff, which is not so great. I can see this complementing a lot of Omni-Tank Aether Raid's offense teams at least. Her Drive Miracle effect is really strong, and Vali is really cool for setting up all sorts of funny team gimmicks. The added distant counter also means you can run other skills and effects, assuming it's not already built into their kits already. Vali herself is also a really good combat unit as is, so even beyond support, she'll still be doing Vali stuff. I've seen a lot of people run her with Nurgle since it's basically a guaranteed steal, which is cool. This is really just Vali, but again, which for better or worse will mean she'll be usable, which is more than I could say for a lot of other units. It's boring, sure, but on the bright side, Vali also comes with a bunch of inheritable skills, including Attack Speed Aria, Speed Res Shackle, and a brand new, sorta new, C-Slot, and Uplift Imbue Attack Speed, which grants the unit and any ally within 3 rows or columns centered on them 5 attack and speed, 5 true damage reduction on the foe's first hit, that reduces deep wounds by 50% effect, and it restores 40% of their HP as combat begins. Hey, that's pretty good. Okay, get this. What if they took the first uplift skill and uplifted the null follow-up and put Imbue in it instead? Wouldn't that be cool? Imbue is a really awesome status effect to put into a C-Slot like that, especially since it also gives out extra true damage reduction and stats. This is just a really strong supportive C-Slot that, thankfully, any flyer can run. This means we will be sticking with the same 5 flyers regardless. Flyers really have so many support C-Slots at this point that it's really hard to choose from them all. I guess it's not the worst position to be in. Cavalry also been getting some nice tools as of late, and armors are still the most privileged of them all. They have attack defense far save, and attack res far save, and attack defense near save. Save some for the rest of the movement types. But yeah, it's another addition for flyers, so that's nice. Yeah, and other than that, that sure is Vali. It's Vali, but new. Years. Again. The first Vali isn't even 2 months old yet, and she's pretty good. I can't imagine that'll be any different here. And if it is, then I am not financially or orbally responsible for any decisions you make in Fire Emblem Heroes. That is you and you alone. You make that decision. It is not my fault. And if you end up getting her, great. It's not my fault. And if you don't get her, then great. It's not my fault, but I would like to take credit anyway. She'll probably be fine. And then there's Sedgar, and he's the demote this time around. When I think Year of the Horse, I think of a coyote. Well, it was that or New Year's Mythic Lin, so I think we lucked out here. Let's see. Sedgar comes with Horse Bow Plus, which inflicts -5 attack, speed, defense, and res, 10 true damage, and the 50% damage reduction piercing effect on foes within 3 rows and columns of the unit. It grants 20 true damage during combat and 10 true damage reduction. That's a really good bow. Ignore the fact that I called it bad on Ignot. Is nothing original on this banner. They really did just copy and paste it over on an inheritable, which is really funny. And kind of sad, honestly. That is a bit less stats, true damage reduction, and it doesn't get a special jump, but now you could use it on anybody else, which makes me think they should have given Ignot something more on his PRF. The extra stuff it has over Horsebow Plus just isn't that great either, especially since you could run this on a flyer and double down on their support way more than Ignot's could. Infantry just don't have nearly as many support tools to work with, but I'll at least give Noir a shout because she also has a C-Slot that inflicts even more damage on top of that and extra stats, so you could just have that with the bow, and that's 20 free true damage and a bunch of stats. That's pretty cool, at least. Cavalry have also been getting a good amount of support skills as of late, so you can make them more dedicated for a support role. And of course, flyers have literally everything they could ever want for support, so that's a natural slot in. It's honestly a pretty nice inheritable because of that. Sedgar also comes with Reposition, Attack Speed Catch 3, and Speed Defense Detect, which is pretty solid. Catch Pre-Fodder is fine, Detect is a sick demote skill to have, and Reposition, they really do spoil us. I've really been enjoying the seasonal demote change they've been doing since last year, and they've been pretty good about the inheritable options on that front. Detect is just another one of those cases. Insert demote bad talking point here. I can't believe it, guys. And other than that, that sure is Sedgar. His fodder, good. The unit, not so much. It's expected, but oh well, at least Sedgar got an ult, so that's really cool. I'm glad they're still willing to give content to more niche characters and not scrap them in favor of characters they already have in the game, because I always look forward to seeing what they actually do with new stuff. What a weird, totally unrelated tangent. Anyway, the last unit we have is dual Baldr and Heidr, who are also actually new and not just in the year sense. I know that's a low bar, but maybe it's not actually. I'm just happy to see some originality for once on the banner, but that's spoilers. Forget I said that. Let's see. Baldr comes with Godly Devices, which is a sling lance that has built-in IO shield. It inflicts -5 attack, speed, defense, and the res, an additional penalty to those stats based on the foe's active bonuses, and the 50% damage reduction piercing effect on foes within 3 rows and columns of them. They get Spectrum 10 during combat, 25 true damage, null guard, 50% speed-based true damage reduction so long as they don't have a weapon triangle disadvantage, or if they do, it's 20% based on their speed, and they could use Red Style. Red Style lets them become a red unit during combat once per turn. Baldr also has a PRFA slot in Heaven's Stead End, which has built-in Canto distance. It inflicts triangle depth and exposure on the closest foes and foes within 2 spaces of them. It grants an additional Spectrum 9 during combat, 7 true damage, 7 true damage reduction, has built-in null follow-up, and if exposure is active on the foe, Baldr has a weapon triangle advantage, or the foe initiates combat, they get dual phase Brave. On top of a dual skill that removes all penalties, grants visible Spectrum 6, fringe bonus, and cancel affinity to herself and allies within 3 spaces for 1 turn. Okay, maybe it was best to forget what I said earlier. This is Brave Baldr, but new. She just seems like a better Brave Baldr, which is pretty apparent in many of the slight changes they made to her kit. She's melee now, she has more skill accessibility, she has a way better cancel to work with, she gets more support, and she has a really good dual button. The button is especially really good because it just removes all penalties and gives out solid bonuses on top of that. It's not the best cleansing we have in the game, but it's an addition on top of everything she does. So even on the support side, it's still really good. On the combat side of things, it does seem to be about the same as ever, except her threat range is a lot more consistent, and she can reliably use reflex, which means it's probably not the same as ever. It's probably better, technically. At the very least, she'll put in more work than Brave Baldr ever could, which is both great and unfortunate because Brave Baldr is only 3 months old. I really wish she was a bit more distinct because of that, but at least she functions. Maybe. Hopefully she could beat Legendary Black Knight this time around. Baldr also comes with a bunch of inheritable skills, including Arc Rival, Shadow Shift, and a brand new, not really new, B-slot in Heavenly Soar, which has built-in pass, 5-space Celica Ring style warping. It inflicts -4 attack speed and defense on the foe, nullifies breath, and has 20% speed-based or defense-based true damage and true damage reduction based on which stat is higher. It's air superiority, but different kinda. Heavenly Sword trades out Potent Follow for null breath and true damage reduction, which isn't even that bad. The trade-off pairs way better with stuff like Reflex and doesn't immediately make you prone to losing to whatever you initiate into. I've noticed that it can be difficult to survive sometimes with air superiority since it lacks true damage reduction, but the added Potent Follow really is nice. You could always outsource that at least, but just having it innately is convenient. Even so, it's basically the same skill, and it being able to scale off either speed or defense makes it just as flexible. I say it depends on what you value more, but I think either option will do well enough. At least until we get our 3rd air superiority skill, I give it 2 months. And other than that, that sure is Baldr and Heidr. Now normally I would say a unit like this is really good. This unit is really good. Don't come back to this video if she can't beat Black Knight. And then there's the free stuff, and who doesn't like free stuff? This time around we have a seasonal unit released from 3 years ago. Wait, what? Okay, so surprise! Well, it was for me at least. I woke up to this news a couple hours after it came out. They're changing how the freebie stuff works in Tempest Trials. Starting with this upcoming Tempest Trials, we'll be able to recruit characters from previous summoning events. They can be redeemed up to 2 times in the Grail shop. So rather than getting a new character for free, we get an old one for free. This sucks. I always looked forward to the Tempest Trials stuff because that's usually when they add less popular or more obscure characters into the game, but now we're just getting less of that, which is really lame. Maybe they thought people would be okay with this change, but they're not exactly the best when it comes to gauging the player base. My guess is that they have enough statistics showing people don't build many of these units, so in their mind they could just scrap them. I don't really think it's a bad assumption per se, but losing out on new characters or alts for characters that usually don't get content is kind of a slap in the face. I really couldn't care if they were good or bad units. It's just really nice to see new stuff. Even the bad ones could serve a purpose for arena scoring stuff or even inheritance. Last book we had so many incredible inheritable weapons that we're just not gonna get now. Now granted, not all of them were super busted crazy, but usually there was something you could get out of them. Just having the additional options were really good, especially since some units would otherwise have to wait for an arcane or stick with something extremely outdated. This just means we get less inheritable options to work with now. Some of those units were also pretty nice for bridge fodder, but if there's at least one saving grace here, now we're gonna get better skills to work with. Whoa, I could get distant reversal. Yay. I think if this is something that does upset you, then it would be a really good idea to send in feedback. They might reverse the decision down the line if enough people talk about it. It worked before with the legendary stuff, so why not, right? You know, this game has been going on for so long at this point that I'm surprised they didn't try something like this sooner to keep costs down. Although back in book 2, they reduced the amount of new units on each banner, so maybe it's a similar case. The game is getting old, but I don't think this is really accelerating end of service more. It definitely comes off as them trying to save money, though. I think the game is still going to go go on for another 2 to 3 years minimum before they even consider shutting it down. If nothing else, Fortune's Weave is coming out next year, so they gotta milk that a bit in Fae, right? But even if this is a sign of end of service, I think it's better to enjoy whatever amount of content we have left rather than worrying about something inevitable anyway. Not that you shouldn't send in feedback, of course. I would heavily advise this if you really don't like this change. Although some people may not even care, which is fine. But believe me, I know a lot of y'all say you hate this game, and you probably do mean that, but I think once it's actually gone, we're going to miss it. This game really has given a lot to the series as a whole between all the new art and voice acting and so much more. I'd rather them at least end the game on a high note. Still, I really don't think this is something we gotta worry about for a while anyway. Or I hope it is, because this video isn't even a year old. But yeah, send in feedback if you don't like the change. They may reverse it if enough people complain, so do your part. I liked this game despite my grievances, and I don't want it to get worse from here, but this does suck. This is a pretty bad update. And speaking of bad transitions, and now that we've gone over the brand new New Year's units, I think it's time we rank the banner on the line graph that may or may not be a line graph at the end of the day. And would you look at that? The brand new New Year's banner has earned a 4 out of 10 on the line graph. And based on my understanding of the banner, I believe it would be best fit somewhere around this area of the circle graph. It's the same units you know and love and hate, and maybe just one of those things. But they are good, and you may be wondering to yourself, why did the New Year's trailer just get shadow dropped only a couple days after the Edelgard banner? Which is a really good question. I don't know. I just had a banner video go up like 2 days ago, so allow me to tell you why skipping Emblem Edelgard is the best choice. That banner is really bad. She comes back in April, and by April, I mean March, because let's be real, she's making top 8 in Hero Rises. This banner at least has a lot of amazing stuff on it, both with its units and fodder. Heimdallr is just new dollar, Vali is how do I shove the word new into her name? Sedgar is a nice demote, and Baldr is new. That was really bad. These units are great, and it's definitely mostly because their last versions aren't even that old. By proxy, they were going to be good, especially fodder-wise. If this banner doesn't interest you, though, then you could wait a bit longer to see what the Desert banner has. Maybe it will be pretty good. The Winter banner is still fantastic, and the double special heroes banner with Chrom and Freya is good too. But if none of that interests you, then I would just save your orbs, TBH, 2BH, to be quite H. I'm going back to bed. Happy holidays, everyone.
The events of this year cannot hide.